So I want to make a game, and I guess it's my dream game. More so just mechanics that I would like to learn how to make and implement into a game. So I'll just make a game with all of the mechanics in. So it's basically Terraria, but movement. Or improved movement, similar to Dead Cells. So an open world survival boss rush game with destructible tiles, RPG mechanics, and some roguelike elements, which I'll talk more in depth about later. Alright, so this is the game so far. Looks really simple, but there's actually quite a lot to it in terms of what you can do and how I would implement things, which I'll get a bit more into later. For now, I'll just show the basic stuff I've implemented. First one being movement. It's momentum based, so as you can see when I hold A, it speeds up until it reaches a max speed and then slows down. You can also sprint, increasing the max speed. When you let go of it though, it goes back down to the max walk speed cap, which I might change at some point because it looks a bit stiff. There's jumping, and the longer you hold the spacebar, the higher it jumps. There's also wall jumping. It's a bit clunky sometimes. I need to iron it out a bit, but it works. You can also chain them together like this. And you can also slide. And then this is the slide cooldown. I was just doing some testing because sometimes it just didn't work properly. If you slide and then jump, you also do a little boost as well. Pretty smooth movement. I could improve the code a bit, and some things are kind of clunky, but as of now, it's in a nice place. And you can chain stuff together like this and do like really cool moves. It's really satisfying. There's some items here. So there's an inventory here. You can kind of see it, but whenever I scroll, this turns a bit yellow. To the one I'm selecting. But when I go into an item on the ground, it picks it up and I can drag it and move it around in any slot. These slots are... Okay, so these are armor slots and these are accessory slots. I can't put this into them because this is a food item. You can also split stacks like that. It's basically Minecraft's inventory or Terraria's inventory. More so Terraria's. But yeah, in the top right, there's my health bar, my hunger bar, and my stamina bar. I'll let my hunger run out. Then what will happen is my health will start to go down as well. Okay, yeah, there you go. My health is starting to go down. But when I put this in my hotbar, when I select it, I can click and it uses it and it heals me and increases my hunger. What's also cool is I can click it, drag it out of the inventory. Even if I close the inventory, I can click it and it uses it as well. So it's exactly like Terraria's inventory. And it's pretty cool. These are accessories, which actually increase my max health. If I put this here, it doubles my max health. So I have 100 right now. This adds another 100, and this adds another 100. These are just materials to like test stuff. This is an armor piece. So this one's meant to be helmet, chest plate, gloves or gauntlets, leggings and boots. And this is a chest plate, and it only fits in the chest plate slot. The way I've done this is really cool, and I'll show it off in a bit, but it's so much easier to just implement stuff like this. And then rocks, loads of rocks. I can change the stack size as well really easily for any item. But yeah, that's the game so far. This took me a while to get into and make, just because I'm new to Godot. I used to work on Game Maker instead of Godot when I was doing a game dev course. And I have to say, this one's a lot more reliable with certain things, like collisions, physics. It's so much more reliable because Game Maker's a pain in the ass to like do any sort of collisions with. At least I've had issues with it. But this is just so much easier. And also you can make 3D games in this, which I'll probably try to do at some point. But for now I'm sticking with 2D. It's pretty cool what I've done so far. Okay, this is how I sort stuff in the files of the game. Assets. I have sprites and tiles, so any like visual thing will go here. Any like thing for the world will go here. So here's what the game looks like in the 2D thing. This tile set was used to just make this, just the platforms. That will go here, and any sort of like visual thing, like any items or anything, will go into spreads. Entities. So this would be crafting recipes, probably crafting stations as well. I haven't really figured that out yet. Creatures, so hostile, neutral, NPC, passive, different creatures. I'll probably have their like AI in there as well. Their visuals, attacks, I don't know, the stuff they drop. His items, so consumables, equipment, materials, placeable tools, weapons. Anything that's considered an item that could be held by the player will go in here. Consumable will be ammunition, food, potions, stuff like that. Equipment, accessory, armor, vanity. Here's just materials. Placeables like blocks and furniture. Axes, pickaxes, shovels for tools, weapons, magic, melee, ranged. Those are the 3 classes I went for. And then I have sub-classes for each one. So ranged is bows, guns, throwing. Melee is blunt and sharp. Magic is dark, light, physical, summoning. Which I've like planned out some of the stuff I want to have in this. I have like a huge thing I've written, which I'll show in a bit. Anything that has to do with items in general, I will just put within the items thing itself. So it goes to the bottom here. And then I have like sub things within this. So the resource for weapons would be here, but the overall item resource will be just in the items thing. And then the player stuff, so any resources I have, the player script, and then the actual player scene. So this, with everything in it. UI, so inventory, vitals, which is the only things I have so far. Again, anything that has anything to do with the inventory in general, I just put at the bottom. And then main inventory, hotbar, equipment inventory, cursor manager, that just all stays in there. And then just tests. I got movement tests, which don't work anymore. Also a to-do list, which is just useful for writing stuff down that I need to do still. And I've actually done this recently. So whenever I equipped armor, as well as an accessory, it just reset the stats for some reason, but I fixed it. But all these I'll be done with soon before I finish the base game, I guess. Yeah. All right, here's the code. Ignore the 34 errors. I will look into getting that solved at some point, but it works fine. I don't know why there's an error for it. All right, so this player script is split into 2 parts. The stats management, the top half, and the movement management. The way I've done the stats is it's like kind of annoying to deal with, but it works really well. I've set a base stats as a player stats resource, which just contains a list of all the stats I would want. So like movement stats, attack stats, health, hunger, everything like that. And then I have a max stats. So let's say base stats is 100 health. I would add an accessory to the player, which increases the max stats. So base stats will always be 100. It can never be changed. So if I were to heal, it would only go up to the max stats. It can't go over the max stats. These are the current stats. This is the actual health that the player has currently. Actual defense, actual hunger, stamina, mana. I won't go through everything because it's kind of complicated to explain. This basically just applies equipment. So whenever you put something in a slot, it increases the stats. This adds on top of any of the current max stats. So it goes through the max stats in the player stats resource. The way I've done this is you can increase it by a base number, or you can percentage increase the stat. This just adds the stats on top of the max stats. Now I got that great explanation out the way of what the stats do. I'll go on to the movement. These are just the buttons, just so like moving left, moving right, jump, sprint, crouch. This checks the direction, and this is important because it would, just writing this little bit of code would save me from doubling this entire fucking thing. So this just checks the direction. So if I'm moving left, the direction's -1. If I'm moving right, the direction's 1. And if I'm not moving at all, the direction is 0. And if I'm moving both, then the direction is 0. So I'm pressing A and D, it just stops. This is just the deceleration. If your direction's 0, just slow down. So basically, if you're moving anyway, in any direction, if you're not sprinting, if you're not crouching, this is just normal walking. The velocity equals speed times direction. You just times this by positive and -1 and it makes it go in that direction. It's a lot easier. And then your max speed, the walk speed. Now if you're crouching, it just sets it to the crouch speed because I have a slower speed if you're crouching. If you're sprinting, this is just normal sprinting, so max sprint speed. So this checks if you're sprinting and it's not a slide, so there is a cooldown. And you haven't slide jumped and you're on the floor, it just does a normal crouch. It's the same as this. This is if you slide. So if you crouch and slide cooldown is 0 or less, and it's on the floor, and you are a certain speed. The slide speed, velocity, and the slide is 1, so you are sliding. And this is a slide jump I was talking about. So if you're sliding, then you get boosted in the direction. Slide jump equals true, and then slide is 0, so you're no longer sliding. If it's not a slide jump, then it just normally decreases the speed. But if you did slide jump and velocity is less than or equal to 0, slide cooldown, set the slide cooldown time, which means there is a slide cooldown, and then slide jump equals false. And then if the slide cooldown is more than 0, then it just decreases it over time until it's 0, and then you can slide again. So if you jump onto a wall, you slowly slide down it. If you jump off, you boost off diagonally, where you can just wall jump between them, and it just checks what side it's on of the player, and it changes the velocity depending on that. This just makes the player get smaller whenever they slide, basically, and this just gets the inventory that's connected to this. This is all just managed within the player. So all the stats of the movement I'll probably make different at some point, but for now I'm having it all managed within the player itself. It's kind of clunky in some areas, could definitely be improved, but for now it's fine. This is the inventory script, which is the player's main inventory. This is just this part here. It doesn't cover this or these. And I'll show you one a bit because some of the items have different properties, like equipping it in an armor slot. So it exports a variable called inventory data, which is basically just an array. If I get the inventory thing here, I can just go to main inventory and it shows here. It's just an array. And that helps because I can just make different inventory datas for different things. So if I wanted to make a chest, it would have a different inventory in every chest instead of just sharing one. These are just the slots. So every inventory, I have a grid and I have every individual slot, and every slot has an icon and a count label to show what items in it and how many of the item is there. And it's actually a button, so it would make it easier to actually interact with it. This just sets the inventory slots, basically. So the size of the slots, the amount of slots that's there. This just toggles the visibility of the inventory. And this just calls when the contents are changed. It changes each individual stack whenever you press the button, basically. And every slot has its own script, which is way larger than the inventory script, surprisingly. So the icon, the label, the allowed item type, which is the thing that allows only specific items. So if I go into equipment inventory, then accessory slots, if I go into slot 1, it only allows the accessory item type. And if I go to normal main inventory, slots, slot 1, there's nothing there, so it allows everything. An item stack is another resource, which basically just has an item resource linked to it, so it actually detects what item it is, how many it can have, depending on the stack I set. This basically just updates the visuals of it, so the count label, texture, shows the contents actually being changed. So this clears the slot if there's nothing in there. This adds the item to the slot if there's nothing in there if you click on it. Then the slot interactions, every single interaction you can do is within this. So this is just left click, right click, and just tracks if you either left click or right click, and it has different things depending on what button you click. So this basically takes an item out of inventory. So if there's a item in there, it takes it out, which only happens if you left click, and if there is a stack in that slot, it takes it. Can accept, this just checks if a slot can accept it. So if there is an item in the slot, it doesn't put it in there. And this basically just places an item in a slot that isn't occupied. If you left click and there isn't a stack in there, it places it. This takes half, so if you right click, it takes half. Place one, just if you right click while holding a stack, it places one individually. That's just the text. If the mouse enters the button and if it exits the button. Yes, this is basically how I did the slot interactions, basically Minecraft's inventory system, and a lot of work goes into just making that work, which is crazy. The hotbar is actually quite different. It has a slot selection, so whenever you scroll wheel or press buttons, it changes slot. And it can also use the items that are either selected in the slot or in your mouse cursor. So if it's on a tool, it uses it in a different way. If it's a placeable, it uses it in a different way. And if it's a consumable, it uses one and applies the stats to player. So a healing item. Cursor manager. So this is when you click something, it holds it in your cursor, and this is the thing that manages that. It shows it in your actual cursor, like the item you pick up and the number it is. Updates the amount whenever you do a certain interaction with it. Updates the visual aspect. Uses the item, which is basically similar code to this. If it's consumable, it does the same thing. If it's in your hand. Item resource. Okay, so these are the resources. So this item resource basically allows me to create items, create and implement items. So each item will have an item ID, which is just the ID. The actual name of the item, how it would be seen on like the description of it. The icon, the description, item type, attributes, so is it a crafting material, yes or no, the max stack size, and the rarity, because I don't want to have a rarity system. I just looked up some cool rarity words. I just thought they were cool because I want to have a rarity system, which I'll explain in a bit. And here's just the player stat resource, all of the stats. So it's everything I wanted to go over in terms of code stuff. Since I'm very new to this language, Godot in general, to get me started with all of this, I have used ChatGPT, but I have watched videos as well. I would only ask ChatGPT very, very specific questions, like what's the best way to set up an inventory? Either through resources, which I'm what I'm using now for the items like this, or a JSON file where I have every item in the game in one file. And I could get it from that. And I just went with resources in the end, which seemed a lot better for this specific instance because I needed to explain the specific things I wanted the inventory to do. And it wouldn't have worked as well with the other sort of inventory. So yeah. And just from that, I've learned so much. But yeah, here's the cool part though. I'm going to just implement a new item. or show you how I implement items. So I have my item resource and my equipment resource. This extends resource, so it is just a resource. Because this extends item, which is the class name of the item resource, it includes all of this as well as all of this. So if I wanted to make an equipment resource, I would go here, equipment, and then create, and then I can change its type. So accessory armor vanity, I want it to be accessory. Description, just description. I could do the stats here, change vital stats, movement stats. I can also do percentage increase, so it increases it by a percentage. So this is 100%, and this is like 50%. It's pretty cool. And then where it says here item, this is everything in this item class name. I'm not going to save this one. I'll just open the test accessory I have, which is already in the game. Max health by 100. Hunger by like 300 or something. So speed is the speed at which you increase your speed, the momentum aspect. So if I turn that to like 100, max walk speed, 200, sprint speed, like 500, crouch speed, 5,000, jump speed, and slide cooldown, you can decrease it. If I do like 2, that means it will only be 1 second. And if I save that, then it will just implement it in the game. It's as easy as that. So this increases that. And since I have no momentum anymore, it just gets max speed instantly. And the crouch speed is crazy. The way things are implemented in this is so cool. And I could just like change it again. Walk speed, I want that to be 1,000. I want sprint to be like minus 100, sort of slower. Head, 1,000. No slide cooldown, and it's implemented. So like accessories are so easy to implement because I can just do that. Yeah, because I'm sprinting right now because it's so slow, and now I'm walking. Like that makes no sense. I could even double it, so it's even faster, and this is even slower. I could basically fly, but that's how the accessories work. And I could just add new ones. I can change what they do. The only thing I haven't added yet, which is on my to-do list, is like special abilities. So if I wanted to add a dash accessory, if I wanted to add that, I would need to add something else to it. I wouldn't know how to implement that yet. Yeah, that's one thing I want to add to the accessory, because right now they're perfect. It works flawlessly. It's really cool. But yeah, that's this so far. The game, I think it's really cool what I've been able to do, honestly, in a very decently short amount of time. But now I'm going to show what I actually have as ideas for the survival game, because this is a survival game, believe it or not. So I haven't got much written yet in terms of different pages. These are just the initial ideas, and then I have progress to the prototype, which I'll show off as well. So the movement, momentum base, which I've already shown, sprinting, dashing, wall jumping, sliding. I want to do a swinging grappling hook as well, because I feel like that would be so nice to have. I also want to have it be used as a sort of weapon, so grapple / pull enemies, to just give it more like momentum within the combat. I feel like it'd be cool. Progression, tier-based system similar to Grounded. The world is split into different sections. Biomes, yep, tier 1 to 5. Accessories will also have different tiers with different types and classes, so like magic, melee, ranged. Main progression will consist of bosses, dungeons, so similar to Terraria. Different tier depending on where they are in the game. Also, each boss will have a different difficulty system, giving you a high reward for whatever you choose, similar to Ark bosses. So in Ark, if you fight a boss, you can choose whether it's easy, medium, or hard, and it gives you better rewards if you beat it. And I feel like that'd be cool to have with this as well. Skill tree, I love skill trees. They're just so cool. Stat increases, recipe unlocks, abilities as well. Combat, semi-momentum based, able to knock back enemies with combo attacks. Pressing a specific string of buttons does a specific attack, which I kind of was inspired from Hi-Fi Rush with that. It won't be rhythm based, obviously, but like I love the combat system in Hi-Fi Rush so much. Something similar to that. Classes and subclasses, so yeah, already showed you this. Stamina system for melee, mana for magic, and ammunition for the ranged weapons. Also, parrying. Parrying is cool as fuck. One of the main reasons I love Grounded's combat system. You just have to get good at parrying and you win the game, basically. It's so cool and satisfying. Survival elements, physics-based crafting system where items can be put into a crafting bench and moved around using the mouse. Putting specific items together in a specific way will craft the item, which are probably done similarly to forest crafting system, but more in depth. That seems a bit confusing, so I'm just going to explain it real quick. So say I have a stick, that's a stick, and then like a stone, that's a stone. I get a box or something. This is the crafting bench. I did it wrong. You get a stone, you put it on there, and it has physics. So if you let go of it, it drops. And a stick. If you get a stick, it has physics. So if you let go, it drops. You put the rock on the end of it. You just slam it on the end of it. You click a button like a button there. You click it a few times, and then you have a hammer, and you can hammer shit like that. You hammer it like that, and then it works. But at the same time, this would be insanely fucking difficult to implement. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. Structures can be built using a building interface with a blueprint system. Place blueprint in order to build it. So grounded, the forest, stuff like that. This can be at crafting stations, housing, and furniture. Gather through killing enemies, animals through the world, as well as finding loot in dungeons, caves. The world will be block-based, so you can destroy almost everything in the world and gather it as a resource. So Terraria style mining and stuff. Dungeons will change the game into more of a roguelike. Okay, this is pretty cool. When entering a dungeon, it locks you inside until you either choose to exit at a certain point or die, meaning it can go on forever. Each time you enter a dungeon, you can choose its difficulty, easy, medium, or hard, giving you different loot tiers as well as each one being randomly generated. So it turns it into a different game almost. You go in, you are locked in there until you get to like a certain checkpoint, like room. Every like 5 rooms or something, you can choose to leave. If you die, you will probably lose something. You probably like lose half of the resources you gathered. When you die, could drop half gathered items. Each boss can be summoned in different areas throughout the world, and structures can also choose between easy, medium, hard, like arc, giving different loot for each difficulty. Summoning a boss will teleport you to an arena or just spawn it depending on what boss it is. Bosses can also lock certain biomes areas until you beat it, yeah. So speed running will be interesting because I do also want to incorporate speed running into this game. I mean, it's a movement based game. Of course, there's people running, movement run. These are just a few ideas I had during development. Every tool, weapon, armor, accessory can be leveled up. When it reaches a specific level, it can be upgraded to access more levels. So getting something to level 5, like a pickaxe, will prevent it from leveling up further unless you use materials to unlock the ability to upgrade it further. So this kind of goes in with the progression tier-based system. So there's 3 things that would matter to a level of something: rarity, tier, and level. The rarity will always stay the same. The level and the tier can be changed. So if you get it to level 5, it can't be leveled up unless you upgrade it to tier 2, in which case level 10, and then you can't upgrade it until you get to tier 3. Stuff like that. I felt like that'd be cool, because it would either increase base stats or unlock certain abilities depending on what tier you're on. So say you get like a sword, you get it to like level 10, and it unlocks like a cool new attack or something, like a big slash, or you throw the sword and it comes back to you like a boomerang or some shit. Something like that. Those are the ideas I had so far. I think it's cool. Obviously, I'll be thinking more about this because this just isn't fucking happening. No way is this happening. I will not be adding a physics-based crafting system unless I figure out how to. Then I'll be adding it. But for now, that seems too difficult. Prototype progress. This is everything I want to do before it can become a prototype, which is just a very, very bare bones version of what the game is going to be. So I'm going to do all this before I even do the art or the music or the sound design or anything, just to get the gameplay out of the way. So I've done the equipment and the inventory system. The movement system needs improving. Stats needs improving. Item implementation is in progress. I still need to add a few more resource scripts for certain things. Placeable blocks and furniture. I still need to implement. Entities and enemies, need to add that. Crafting system, combat system, block destruction, which I don't think will be too difficult. These are all low priority. These are like these are like the less important stuff for now. This is probably going to be the hardest one to figure out. Also, these need specific things, like crafting system needs an inventory and an item implementation system, which I'm almost done with, so I could probably just do this next, actually. Then combat system needs entity setup and stats, so I need to do entities, but before that I need stats, which I've done, so I can move on to this soon. This is probably what I'm going to do next, to be honest. Then have like the player actually be able to die and like respawn, which is like a sub thing I could add to stats. Basically, I mean, it still needs improving, so yeah. Also, this doesn't have a priority level. Medium, I guess. These were high. These were definitely higher than these. I did this before this, just because I wanted to do an inventory system, because it's cool. I want to learn how to make one, and now I know how to make one. Cool, so this is all the ideas I have for this so far. Before the end of the video, though, I'm going to implement a little thing. When I get items and I hover over them, nothing happens. It just like does that. I want to implement, at least whenever I hover over something, it shows the name of the item. So I'm going to do that quick, just to show how I would code something. So first, I need to actually go to the cursor manager. This is the cursor control, and then we need the control. And this will be called item description. And if I go to this, I need, for now, I'm just gonna have a label. Label, item name. And then I go to cursor manager. Okay, so this would be cursor control stuff. And then if I just grab this control and then creates a variable. So this is set, item description is set. I also need item name. Now that's set. If I hovered slot. So this just this is basically just if you're hovering over a slot. Yeah, I also need to do this, but with not cursor control, but item description. So this just shows wherever the mouse is. So if you're hovering over something, hovered slot dot stack item dot item name equals that. So if the slot has a stack and an item, so if there's an item in there, then it will do this. It sets the item name here to the name of the item in the thing. Okay, so item description is not visible on start. I can do this. Item description visible is false. So this should work. It should work. And if it doesn't, then I'm gonna be... Yeah, not equal to no. Would that work? No. Yeah, it's because there isn't an item in it. Okay, so no, I wouldn't need to do that. If stack and stack dot item, I could just do that. So if there is a stack in there and if there is an item, that works. Okay, cool. Resource equipment. Okay. Is it because I hover over equipment? Yeah, it's just name. Okay, good. That's the reason. I'm just an idiot, basically. Item. Okay, this should work now. Didn't work. Oh yeah. Wait, no. Okay, I just said it's a string. Oh. All right. Yeah. Dot text. This should work. I've said that like 7 times now, but it works. It works. Test plate. Haha, funny. Get it? Test plate. That's really cool. Dude, I love making games. There's like 7 issues with it, but the more you figure out and learn, it's just so cool. It's so sick. Now I can like, whether just get rid of this mouse position. And I can do that for everything as well. Yeah, look, that's so cool. I can even add item description as well. And if I go to this and just sort this out real quick. That'll be fine for now. I'll like sort it out later. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Word. This is test. And I'm gonna do that. Obviously, I'm gonna clean this up, but this is so cool. I can just implement that so much easier now. Like, I'd have some clean UI over it, showing stats and everything. Plus 20 max health. Plus 30% coolness. So cool. Then it would work. Yeah, okay, that works fine. And you equip it. And then I get plus 30% coolness, which works 100% of the time. Right, that was it then. Last thing I'm gonna say, I don't know if this game is ever going to be finished, or if I will work on it until it's finished. This is just something I want to do. Obviously, this takes a lot of work, and so far, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like, this has been the most fun I've had developing game in a while, and it's great. But obviously, if this is going to be a game, and I want to publish it, and I want to finish game, and it will take fucking years, because first of all, I'm the only person working on this. Second of all, I want to be the only person working on this. Literally everything. Visuals, code, music, sound effects, everything. And third of all, yeah, that's a lot of work. So, I'll try my best. Also, I might start streaming this as well at some point. Streaming, learning, coding things, doing art for it, making music. On this YouTube channel, not on my main one, Brute Planet, my main channel. This is Brute Planet Dev, the other one's Brute Planet, my normal channel. Subscribe to both now or later. Just make sure you do it at some point. Also, obviously, I don't expect this video to do well. It's my first video of this type doing this sort of stuff. And I am horrible at explaining things. But hopefully my editing did a good job of that, because I'm better at editing than I'm explaining things. Okay, end of video. I'll be uploading another game dev video just before Christmas on a surprise project. Surprise! Alright. Bye.